The claim of downing 2 to 4 F-35 fighter jets must be considered the most controversial news to emerge from the 12-day war between Israel and Iran. But is this news actually true? The F-35 fighter should be seen as the primary aircraft of the attacking enemy's air force during the recent war. Thanks to its low radar cross-section, this fighter was tasked with spearheading the assault and penetrating Iran's deadly airspace. The specific Israeli version, the F-35I Adir, was at the forefront of suppressing and targeting many of Iran's air defense systems, inflicting damage on the country's armed forces. However, Iran needed only 1 day after the war began to announce the official news of its first F-35 downing. This was highly significant news, not just for Iran, but also for countries like China and Russia. If Iran truly possesses the wreckage of this fighter, it could gain significant leverage with countries like China for purchasing new fighter jets. The news was initially reported by the AJA Telegram channel, which is affiliated with the Iranian army, and an hour later, the credible Parvaz Dar Oj channel confirmed the downing, claiming that Iran's air defense had shot down at least one F-35 fighter. According to the same channel, F-14 Tomcat fighters were also involved in the incident, likely acting as bait. Ultimately, Iran's official television network gave the final seal of approval to the story, stating that 2 highly advanced F-35 fighters were tracked and shot down by Iranian-made Indigenous Army air defense systems, and that the myth of the F-35 stealth was shattered by Iranian air defenses. Following this, the Iranian militarism channel claimed that army commandos had launched an operation to capture the pilots of these jets. All the aforementioned channels also posted that for security reasons, Iran would refrain from publishing images of the wreckage until at least the end of the war to prevent the valuable crash sites from being bombed, promising a reveal at a more opportune time. In the following days, another major news story circulated about another aircraft being shot down in West Azerbaijan province. This led to the spread of much fake news on the matter, including false images of F-35 wreckage and a female pilot, which even made it onto official television. Now that the war is over, many questions remained about these downings. Many are wondering if Iran truly succeeded in shooting down such an advanced aircraft. In total, Iran claims to have downed at least 2 F-35I jets, considered the most advanced version of the F-35 in the world, while there are also talks of at least 4 of these fighters being shot down. Today, we are going to investigate this very important news and determine once and for all whether Iran really shot down a fighter jet or not. I highly recommend that you do not miss this important video and stay with us until the end.
Given the prevalence of sensationalism and fake news, we must first proceed by citing the claims and gradually move towards examining the reality. In the modern era, 5th-generation fighters are the undisputed rulers of the skies. These are aircraft aerodynamically designed to have the smallest possible radar cross-section, RCS. This feature makes them highly stealthy or, more simply, harder to detect compared to previous generations of fighters. For instance, the RCS of an American F-16 is 1 square meter, while that of an F-35 is about 0.005 square meters. In training dogfights between the two, one F-35 has achieved 12 victories against the F-16. During the Lion's Pride operation against Iran's airspace, this fighter bore the main responsibility for suppressing Iran's radars and air defense systems. After the success of the first wave of F-35 attacks, and with the help of internal collaborators in the first 6 hours of the assault, other fighters gradually gained the opportunity to enter Iranian airspace. However, after the disruption to the air defense network was resolved on the first day, Iran's defenses began to fight back. According to Iranian officials, at least 120 drones were shot down by Iranian air defense during these 12 days. The pressure on Iran's air defenders was immense, and they were looking for a morale boost to continue their efforts. It was then, on the 3rd day of the war, that an Iranian army media outlet claimed the downing of one F-35 fighter, a highly controversial piece of news that, given the source's credibility, spread rapidly across social media. The Parvaz Dar Oj channel later published a similar report. The story becomes more interesting when, after this news, a controversial video of the wreckage of an unidentified aircraft was published from western Iran. The aircraft was so heavily damaged that it was impossible to say with certainty what it was.
A few days later, the Iranian militarism channel released an analytical video claiming the crashed aircraft was an F-35. However, our team believes the wreckage seems too small to be from a fighter jet, and it is more likely to be a large drone with a powerful engine. We will discuss the downed aircraft wreckage and why it hasn't been released in more detail later. In short, after the news of the first F-35 downing by Iranian air defense broke, the Iranian militarism channel claimed an operation by Army commandos to capture a pilot in the west of the country, with several commando teams dispatched to areas around Kermanshah province. Our investigations confirm this, and Iran did indeed send several teams to capture a potential pilot. Further reports from Pervaz Der Oj claim the involvement of F-14 Tomcats in downing the F-35 in the early days of the conflict. It is plausible that while an F-35 was attempting to engage and shoot down an F-14, it was lured into a trap and targeted by an unknown air defense system as part of a deceptive strategy. The channel also stated that, due to security concerns, Iran had no plans to publicize the wreckage, a point later echoed by several other credible channels. A few days later, the country's air defense claimed a second F-35 or another aircraft was shot down, this time over Tabriz. This once again prompted the dispatch of a commando team to assess what had been hit. Subsequently, the Pervaz Der Oj channel published an image of an aerial structure's wreckage, but unfortunately a subsequent attack on the wreckage itself had destroyed a large part of the main fuselage. In total, Iran has at least 2 official claims regarding the downing of F-35 fighters, which led to the deployment of commando teams to investigate the wreckage and capture the pilots. We can at least confirm the deployment of these commandos, but whether an F-35 was actually shot down requires further discussion and more specialized analysis, which we will get into. Besides these 2 official confirmations, for which we have mentioned potential locations, 2 other claims exist that remain just claims, unaddressed by any credible channels. So, was an F-35 shot down, or was this a case of mistaken identity involving a drone or another aircraft? As you know, in a war situation, Iran's air defense alone claimed to have shot down 120 drones and invading aircraft. This list only includes drones. Many cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, and micro-drones were also fired at the country's air defenses. Overall, Iran's air defense was facing saturation. The few active air defense systems in contested areas had to both fire and quickly relocate to avoid being suppressed. Typically, after any engagement and shoot-down, special forces are rapidly deployed to the area to collect the wreckage, and if the aircraft was manned, capture the pilot. This process of dispatching forces isn't done for every single aircraft shot down. An assessment team might be sent quickly, but as we said, we can at least confirm 2 operations to capture a pilot. It's possible that what was thought to be a fighter was actually a drone, or vice versa. An F-35 has a very small RCS, but when carrying external fuel or weapons, its RCS might increase to a level comparable to other aircraft like drones. Among the news that circulated, the capture of at least 1 pilot was reported by credible military channels, including the Army's channel, which we are only relaying. We can only say for sure that an F-35 was shot down when authentic pictures of the wreckage are released.
Such a success would be very costly for the opposing side. Several times, the wreckage of aircraft shot down by the country's air defense has been bombed by enemy fighters to destroy any remaining evidence and prevent intelligence extraction. This very thing reportedly happened following the F-35 downing claim in the northwest, near Tabriz. According to some of our sources, this bombing did occur. So we mean to say that if an aircraft was shot down, at least one of them was likely bombed, and due to its complete destruction, no parts can be presented as proof. On the other hand, due to the current information blackout in the country, the chances of publicizing the wreckage or a captured pilot are slim, as the location could be identified and attacked. In conclusion, the top Strategist channel, out of the 4 claims of F-35 destruction, can confirm, or rather relay, 2 based on the channels we mentioned. One crashed in Tabriz and another in Kermanshah. If these channels' claims are correct, and Iran has managed to secure at least the nose or tail section of one of these aircraft, it could gain incredibly valuable intelligence about its construction. In terms of avionics, this fighter has one of the best multi-purpose radars in the world. For example, the F-35II has a more complex electronic warfare system than the American versions, supplied by Israel itself. In terms of engine, we are talking about the most powerful engine ever installed on a fighter jet. The F-35's Pratt & Whitney engine can generate 28,000 pounds of thrust without afterburner and 43,000 pounds with it. The technology in its turbine blades is extremely valuable, and countries like China and Russia would pay a high price to obtain it. If Iran managed to acquire parts of the fuselage, avionics, or engine, a good deal could be struck. This comes at a time when the country is in dire need of fighter jets and must quickly acquire 4th or 5th generation aircraft. Iran has had similar dealings with the Chinese before, trading intelligence from the Tomcat's radar and the Phantom for heavy discounts on the J-7 and the right to choose the J-7E variant, which was developed using that technology. However, as we said, now is not the time to speak definitively on this matter, and anything we say could be wrong. We have done our best to cover the most credible news. It is also worth mentioning that Iran's air defenders suffered significant damage to their radar systems during these attacks, largely due to internal collaborators. It is hoped that the damaged radars will be quickly replaced with reserve systems. With the constant flights of surveillance aircraft, the arsenals of the Israeli Air Force and air defense have been replenished. Given the possibility of another war between the two sides, Iran cannot afford a repeat of what happened. This means it can no longer afford to lose control of its skies and must be able to quickly turn them into a deadly zone using a combination of air and ground-based defenses. This is only possible by purchasing Chinese fighters and speeding up the delivery of Russian products. The country must act swiftly to increase its defensive and offensive capabilities. In the final summary of today's video, we must say that based on the collection of published information, it appears Iran has shot down at least one F-35 fighter, and another unidentified aircraft was also downed over the northwest, whose identity is still unknown. However, until these accounts lead to the release of official images, they cannot be considered certain. We must wait and see how the story of these F-35s ultimately unfolds. Thank you very much for being with us, friends. We would be very grateful if you would follow our channel to stay informed about new military news and videos.